the center of today's discussion is important. This book so clearly points out that whether we are talking about Limpopo or Zululand or University of Cape Town or Wits or Howard University or Morehouse or Dillard University, Africa and Blackness must be at the center of curriculum, design, and delivery, to quote the book. This is the only way that we can ensure that when we move from ivory towers to ebony towers, that we're not simply changing buildings and still ventriloquizing white supremacy and blackface, but that we form an educational paradigm that elevates and orients the minds of our people to an African-centered mindset. One of the many issues addressed in this book is the struggle for post-apartheid South Africa to find the means and methods of educating a majority black population in the shadows of former white rule. As I was reading some of the chapters, I couldn't help but notice the similarity in experiences of black South Africans and African Americans. It's almost like we're cousins. On the other side of the pond, historically black colleges and universities are still grossly underfunded and still too often seen as lesser than their white counterparts. Furthermore, in many of these black universities, their epistemology has been furnished by Eurocentricity and their theories developed by those who are outside and unfamiliar with the culture and experiences of African Americans. Outside of education, higher education, critical race theory in public schools has become a highly debated and heated topic, with many Christian conservative states attempting to rewrite history. So much so that there was a school history book that was released that referred to enslaved Africans as workers. It seemed that our white Christian brothers and sisters skipped over that 1 Timothy verse that says the worker is due his wages. Again, I was struck by the similarities between South African student movements and the protests at Wits and the University of Cape Town and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the United States that was so instrumental in challenging the Jim Crow South. So today, Brother Musa is like a modern-day Julian Bond or Ella Baker or Kwame Ture as they challenge the apartheid curriculum and white-dominated management of their institutions. I'm unashamed to admit that my attention was most drawn to Section 7 of the book, which discusses the development of African-American thought in the Atlanta schools and the Howard schools. These schools birthed the idea that education is supposed to liberate and elevate, and if done so properly, the downtrodden, lowly, depressed Negro becomes a new Negro, as Alan Locke defined, one who is dignified, dependent on self, determined, and defiant to white supremacy. This is why historically black colleges and universities are important. This is why an African-centered curriculum is important. This is why moving from ivory towers to ebony towers is important. It's important in South Africa, Nigeria. It is important in Ghana, New York, New Orleans, Jamaica, Haiti, wherever we may be. From ivory towers to ebony towers is a powerful argument for the need of African and African descendant people to have an education that is self-centered. I will end with this. I know that reclaiming agency, autonomy, and ownership of our education and shifting from ivory towers to ebony towers is a monumental task that may take years or even decades to see full fruition. There are some that will argue that we must give up this cause or abandon the fight. There will be times when our arms will begin to hurt from carrying this heavy load. But when those times come, we must remember the words of Calvin Coolidge, who was the 30th president of the United States, that said, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is filled with educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." But if those tough times come, and you can't remember that long quote, the great philosophical soul musician Curtis Mayfield said it very succinctly: we have to keep on pushing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asad, for those remarks. And Musa, now you have your 15 minutes of fame.
Thank you, Prof. And Thank you everyone, especially the two institute for the invite to be here. It's always nice coming back to Wits, as Prof was saying that we've met in other circles, and he was asking me where I've been. So I'm running away from being here because I've been asked, when are you finishing your PhD?